Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on this really beautiful evening here at Soho House for our Limitless conversation. For those that I have not yet met, my name is Victoria Smart, and I'm a wellness writer, presenter, and host, working really closely with the Beauty Triangle to educate and empower audiences on all areas of their well-being. And I'm very excited to be joined this evening by three fantastic practitioners, each of whom I really trust myself, so this is really exciting. And we're going to be discussing the routes to looking, feeling, and projecting a more confident self, because I'm sure we can all agree that there are so many times in life when we lose self-assurance, and that can look different for everyone. For some people, it's about our projection, the things that we say and how we say them, or sometimes not having the confidence to say anything at all. For others, it's about our external appearance, our aesthetic, whether that's skin health, or not feeling the radiance that we feel on the inside, on the outside. And for others, it can be something a little deeper. Perhaps it's loss of sense of self, a lingering anxiety, or not feeling quite aligned in our energy. Now, those are just a few of the things that we will be discussing this evening. But just before we do, just some housekeeping. You should all have found a programme on your seat behind the flyers. In there, you'll see further information about each of our speakers, as well as a referral card. So should you wish to be connected with anyone that you hear speak today, please just pop your details in there and we will connect you. You also have a goodie bag with some fantastic supplements. You've got some hydration electrolytes there for weather like today, and also some products from Ancient and Brave. And then finally, just a few words about the Beauty Triangle before we begin. The Beauty Triangle was launched 8 years ago now, with the sole purpose to educate and empower audiences such as yourself, but also to connect you with the very best voices within the world of well-being. Which brings me very neatly to introduce our panellists this evening. There's some big names here, so I'm going to try and do this properly. We have speech and communication coach, Alice Deville. We have aesthetic doctor and dental surgeon, Dr. Maryam McMillan. And we have intuitive energy and sound healer, Charlie Christie. Now, did I do that right? Great. Now that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to our speakers to say a very quick hello, and then we will get started with the main conversation. Alice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alice Deville, and I'm a voice and communication coach. So I help people to become calm, confident public speakers and communicators of all kinds.
Thank you so much, Alice. Maryam.
Hi, I think it's working. My name is Maryam McMillan. I'm a doctor in aesthetics, and I've got a clinic in North London, and I've been practicing aesthetics for about 20 years now.
Thank you. And I'm Charlie. Oh, that sounds really loud. I'm Charlie. I am a sound and energy intuitive wellness expert, is the new title because wellness is becoming such a huge industry now, which is so exciting. And I've been working in healing practices for over 20 years as well. I'm older than I look.
Thank you so much. Now, Alice, we're going to start with you, and I'm really excited to have you here because actually I've stepped into your clinic. And I've experienced your practice, and it was genuinely transformative. So I thank you for that, but I'd love to share that with this audience. Could you start by just telling us a little bit about the people that come to your practice and what they're seeking when they turn up at your door?
Yes. So when people come to me, it's usually because they want to be more confident in their speech. And that can take many different forms. So it might be in presenting, it might be in pitching, it might be in public speaking. But it could also be in off-the-cuff speech, like this kind of situation, or in interviews, or maybe in the media. And usually they come to me because they want to be more confident in their speech. And they might be coming because maybe someone in their workplace has told them that they need to build this skill and improve it as part of their career. They might come because they know that they are not quite representing themselves as they would like to when it comes to speaking. Sometimes people come because they're nervous, especially around senior people. So lots of different reasons why they might come, but it's all around confident speech.
You actually triggered something in there when you said about speaking in front of people. It's like in school when you're going around and they're like, you know that you're next and you have to say something. What are the main habits or things that you see with people that are feeling less confident? Is there anything that you see when they turn up to your door, like physical or even psychological?
Yeah, I think the habits kind of reappear very commonly. So things like rushing when you're speaking, nerves, maybe some people speak with a monotone, maybe some people ramble or are unclear in their speech. A lot of the time people come to me because they want to have more credibility in their performance. So maybe they're representing a brand or a company and they feel that something about their communication isn't quite landing when they are performing. So they're not quite coming across as credible and authoritative. And that can be to do with things like upspeak, like if you go up at the end of the sentences, that might make you sound like you are questioning everything you're saying. So a common habit would be upspeak or upward inflection as well. Filler words, ums and ers. I deal a lot with voice problems like, tension in the voice. And I also help people with English pronunciation for those who struggle with clarity in that as well.
I've never felt so paranoid about the way that I speak. And when I say
I shall be observing you,
all my
Victoria.
ums and ahs. And what role does posture play? Because it's not always about the things that we're saying, is it? It's actually about the way that we're presenting them as well. I'm just going to sit.
Yeah, I'm just going to make all the speakers feel really, really paranoid throughout this whole thing. Well, I think posture and voice and everything about communication affects not only how you're perceived, but also how you feel. So if I was to speak to Victoria and I was to kind of like close off, actually people in the audience can try this if you want to right now, but you can make your posture more closed and you can make it more tense and you can make it more asymmetrical. And if I start speaking like this and I say, "Hi, Victoria, my name's Alice. I'm a voice and communication coach." I'm not going to feel good, but also you'll perceive me to be less confident. Whereas if I kind of adjust my posture and it's nice and tall and open and balanced and relaxed, not only do I feel so much more confident, but also probably you'll read me as more confident as well.
What do you do in your clinic? How do you help people get past this? What does the journey with you look like? Where do you begin?
Yeah, so if people are coming one-to-one to me, we have an initial consultation chat. And in that chat, I'll kind of establish exactly what this specific person's challenges are and what they want to work on. And from that, then I will devise specific goals. So maybe 1 or 2 very specific goals to them. Then I will devise a course plan for them. And each session will be working towards the specific thing they want to work on. So say they have a big speech coming up in a couple of months' time. Some of the sessions will be on the actual content of the speech. Some will be on how they're delivering it, their body language, their voice, and all of the elements that will make them really powerful and really smash that performance. So they come away at the end of the course having met those goals that we've devised at the beginning and with the tools to feel really confident in their public speaking.
Do you believe that confidence is something that we can learn? Because I often think that we think it's a personality trait or something that we're just born with.
I 100% think it's something we can learn. And I would put my life on that.
Wow.
So there's a great phrase in acting that says, acting is doing and through doing we become. And I think it's the same for confidence, because I believe that confidence is an act of doing, and through doing we become. And what I mean by that is when we understand what is confident posture, we can do confident posture and therefore we feel confident. And through that act of doing, we are confident. We're doing the most confident version of ourselves. And it's simply a matter of tools that we can use over time. And when we master those, we can actually inhabit that confidence more permanently. And, I always think it's like we expect to be able to do certain things too easily. Because if I said to you, Victoria, right, I want you to play, Mozart's violin concerto tonight, and you'd never had a violin lesson in your life, you'd never had the opportunity to try playing the violin, you didn't know how to do it, you'd probably struggle, right? You wouldn't have confidence in that. So confidence is a practice that we can learn through technical tools.
Which is interesting, because I remember the statistic, something like people are almost more scared of public speaking than they are actually of things like death. It's one of the biggest fears.
Yeah, and I really want to validate that fear as well, because there's really valid reasons to fear it, because being ostracized as a human in a group is, in primeval terms, is probably the worst thing that could happen to you. You would die. So in my former career as an opera singer, I was an incredibly nervous opera singer. And so I had to really, really work on the nerves element. And I remember always saying to people that I had a masterclass with a singer called Sir Tom Allen at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, which is a very competitive environment full of very powerful opera singers. And I was so nervous on the way to this thing that I thought it would be better to just try and get run over on the way than actually face this. Obviously, that wasn't like a real thing I was going to do. Wow. It wasn't like I was suicidal, but I did think this is so scary. I feel like I'm going to die. And it's really real to have that level of anxiety and normal. And if anyone in this room feels that way about public speaking, I want them to know that this is something you can overcome. And you're not alone, because as you said, it's very common.
Low-key, you just dropped in casually that you're an opera singer. I love that. Just an opera singer.
Yeah,
was an opera singer. You said we can overcome it, so how? What are some of the techniques that you use within your practice that really do help people overcome this?
Yeah, so each person is going to be unique, and that's what I found in my sort of 25 years of coaching. I've noticed that different people respond to different things, but there are some kind of unifying factors that work for most people. And one of them is to have a pre-performance routine that you use consistently, and that might involve a breath practice, a body scan, visualization, power poses, positive affirmations, anything that you find works for you. And I'd probably pull one out of those things as one that's been incredibly powerful for me, which is the visualization aspect. Because what I notice in people who struggle with performance anxiety, they spend a lot of time imagining worst case scenarios. Like, what if I stumble? What if I mess this up? What if I'm awful? What if it's really bad? What if I freeze? What if I blank? All of those types of thoughts. And they're not spending as much time, or any time really, because often I say, how would you like it to go? And they don't know. So I would invite people to consider, how would you like it to go in the best case scenario, and try and visualize that in great detail, as much detail as possible. How would you like your voice to be? How would you like your posture to be? How would you like to feel? And one of the things I always think about liking to feel is a sense of enjoyment, because actually life's pretty short and we want to enjoy things. So the visualization aspect could be very helpful for some people.
And can you speak about some things that you do for posture? Because you made me do these crazy power poses and I felt so foolish on the side of a stage, standing like Superman. But actually it really does change your state.
Yes. I'm tempted to make everyone do it, but I'm not going to. So, but yeah, I don't know if anyone's seen the Amy Cuddy talk, that's the TED talk that's on power poses. I mean, some people don't think it works, but I definitely do. So when we change our body, we change our mind. And even as you're sitting here right now, if you just slightly adjust, even just slightly make yourself taller in the spine, you slightly unfurl your shoulders. See, I can't help but coach. This is like, oh, I don't want to coach everyone. But yeah, even if you just adjust slightly now, you can feel your energy lifting slightly. And nerves are very, very close to excitement. So if we can really almost, I was going to say gaslight, but it's not. It's actually almost turn our brain in the direction of excitement through changing our body into one of these power poses, either hands on hips or arms up in the air in a big victory pose. And we're saying, yes, I can do this. We're helping the brain to know this isn't a massive threat. You're not going to die. This is actually really exciting and fun.
Nerves or excitement. I actually live by that. Especially where I present so much, I always say they're the same thing as excitement, because I think biologically, someone's going to correct me, but I think it's the same thing. It's just our brain telling us. Can
tell us the science, but I have seen a study that said that the same parts of the brain light up. So it's really a matter of perspective. Are you going to choose to think, oh my God, I can feel these sensations in my body. I'm dreading this. This is awful. I'm so worried about this. I'm scared. Let me run away. Or are you going to try and have thoughts or change your thoughts to, wow, I can feel some feelings in my body. This is really exciting. Wow, what's going to happen? This is crazy. This is fun. Wow. And I know that sounds potentially a little bit toxically positive, but actually it does really work if we can tune our perspective into the positive choice around what the sensations mean.
Yeah. And I always say it's going to happen anyway. Like, we're going to be on this stage presenting whether we want to or not. However nervous we are, we're going to be here, so we might as well try and enjoy it. And how do you go about helping people that can't quite get their words out? Because sometimes it can just be a case of pronunciation.
Like pronunciation, like what? Like the actual, So,
and like the tools that you use, like the that you did with me, that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, if somebody mumbles a lot and is like inarticulate, and people constantly asking them to repeat themselves, then there are a few different things that they can do, and that's more about a sort of motor skill. I hope that I've referred to that in the correct way, but it's something that you need to do and practice on a regular basis. So you can practice tongue twisters, you can do lots of vocal exercises to strengthen and make more flexible the tongue, the lips, the back of the mouth. Like, doing she sells seashells on the seashore, or Betty bought a bit of butter, but the bit of butter Betty bought was bitter. And I did a couple of those right in the backstage before coming here, just so that I'm like warmed up and able to speak clearly.
I didn't. Oops.
Victoria, how naughty.
All these things you've taught me. How do you see confidence impacting people's lives beyond work? Does it impact other people's lives elsewhere? And what are some of the transformations that you've seen?
This is what the joy of coaching is seeing the transformation in people. I've seen people go from avoiding opportunities. I've worked with some amazing people who have got massively incredible technical skills, and they're not going to do panel talks, they're not going to do presentations, pitches, speeches, they're not going to present their ideas because they're consumed with negative past experiences that have knocked their confidence. And I worked, for example, with someone who had an incredible presence online, but just live events they were terrified of. And gradually we helped this person to build the confidence to be able to do things. And just the messages that I sometimes get are just amazing. Like, I can't believe I did it. I can't believe I actually enjoyed it. And, that's the type of transformation that I'm lucky enough to enjoy sometimes.
I often say sometimes it's like you're doing a disservice by not speaking about the things that you know and not having the confidence to be able to project your experiences.
Yeah. So this is why communication skills are so important, because you can be incredible in your field. You can work behind the scenes. You can be the best in your field. But if you can't explain your ideas and your understandings and your expertise and your learnings, then all of that work can be lost. And that means not in terms of promotions, but I work with a lot of people in finance and so on. And if you can't deliver ideas, then you won't land deals. It's like you could run the risk of losing millions of pounds. But also, as you said, your confidence and your happiness and your well-being can be impacted if you are avoiding. And every time you do it, you feel bad, like you come away. And actually, I bet everybody here has at some point felt that, man, I just didn't do my best. I didn't say it like I wanted to say it, and it just didn't land. And it's so frustrating, and that affects well-being.
Do you believe we can fake it till we make it?
Love this, Victoria. I mean, my company name is Authentic Communicator, and you might be surprised hearing that to hear me say that I do think that fake it till you make it's a good phrase, actually, because as I said previously, if confidence is doing, and through doing we become, then it's almost like just do the confidence, and the confidence, the inner confidence will follow when the outer confidence is happening. So yes, I think go for it, but I do have a bit of an issue with the word fake, because the most confident version of you, of each individual person, is not fake. It's just one of your outfits that you can put on. And so you can enjoy that version of you. It's not fake, it is you.
That's really beautiful. I want to end there, but I've got one more question.
Okay.
And actually, it reminded me of a point that I heard not long ago where they say it's only embarrassing if you're embarrassed. And I found that so interesting, because I feel quite embarrassed sometimes, but actually it's not even that embarrassing. I'm just the only person that's embarrassed. So it was really empowering.
I love that.
What are a few, or 1 to 3 takeaways that people can walk out of here today in order to feel more confident when they are presenting or having to speak in public?
So I think there's so much you can do to help yourself without actually having to pay for coaching and things like that. So the first thing I would say is begin the self-reflective process. And what I mean by that is start to observe your habits that are interfering with the fluidity and ease of your communication. So for example, if you were to film yourself or do a voice recording of yourself, and you were to listen back, you might hear that you constantly say, oh, like the word or you never pause, or you're always rushing, or you might see in a video that you're holding tension, like a lot of tension in the shoulders, or you're kind of doing something like that you didn't know. And if you can become a compassionate witness and look back at recordings of yourself, you can start to change those habits, because awareness is the first step. And very often we're just not aware of the things we're doing. So I would say the self-reflective process through filming and recording, if you can not be too critical looking back at yourself, and you can be compassionate and just look at yourself with curiosity. The second would be probably pausing, which I think we can all use more. So when I'm working with clients, probably the biggest thing I notice is that people are afraid of silence, and they tend to fill the silence with ums and ers, or they don't have any silence at all. And you can tell the difference if I say to you, you know, it's a really sunny day in London today and I'm not sure I really like the heat and I'm not sure what I feel about everything. And whereas if I say, it's a really sunny day in London today and I'm not sure how I feel about the heat. You can see that those pauses are helping the audience and the listener to understand, but are also helping me to feel calm and confident too. So pausing would be the second one. And then the third one I'll go with, let's go with tongue twisters on a regular basis, because by practicing those tongue twisters regularly, you're increasing the muscular flexibility. You're more likely to be clear in your speech. You're more likely to have more vocal expression in your speech and therefore be more interesting and less monotone. So that would be my third one, tongue twisters.
Sorry, one additional question, just asking for a mate.
Yeah.
When you pause, how would you recommend that we pause? Because we can't always tell the speed of our own speech when we're in it because we're so nervous. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I do have a few tips for that. First of all, the practice of pausing happens in the studio. And what I mean by that is the place where you practice. It doesn't happen on the stage. You need to have practiced this before. It's not going to become a habit just like instantaneously when you're put on the spot. So first of all, practice. And almost leave it like uncomfortably long, just to see if you can be comfortable with that. So practicing pausing in the studio, then come into real life. If you're rushing as well, I mean, there are millions of tips I could go on rushing, so I probably shouldn't go on too long. But I'd say another key thing to stopping rushing is vocal expression. And by that, I might sometimes mean emphasis. So rather than saying, that's a 2.5% increase on last year, I might say, that's a 2.5% increase on last year. And so I put emphasis on 2.5 and increase, and there was no way I could rush if I'm putting in emphasis.
Noted. Thank you so much.
You got it?
I can't speak now because I know you're listening.
Now, just do all of those things immediately, okay?
Yeah.
That's all I ask
God,
of you.
what about us?
Thank you. Oh, sorry, guys.
pressure
No
now.
pressure. Make sure there are some pauses in there.
We really ordered this wrong, didn't we?
Yeah.
Thank you, Alice. That was fascinating.
My
We'll have
pleasure.
time for
Thank you.
questions and answers at the end. So yeah, just hold those for them.
Thank you.
Maryam,
I'm signing up.
all taken notes.
I know.
Maryam, it's really interesting to me to have an aesthetic doctor on a panel where we speak about confidence, because it's a conversation that we're hearing more of recently in one of two ways. For some people, it's life-changing, and some of these treatments and advancements are really helping, but for others, it can cause the opposite. And what I really admire about you is your approach. It's really authentic and true. Could you begin by starting to tell us who are the people that come into your clinic and what are they seeking to feel more confident?
Yeah, so in terms of who comes to me, I've seen a massive trend and a shift in the type of clients that come. So we'd all started off in aesthetics and just wanting a quick fix of lips and Botox, but the market has definitely shifted, and I tend to see people coming in who just want to look better, feel more confident, and with the rise of like GLP-1 drug, Mounjaro, Ozempic, all these new, ways of losing weight and the social pressure of social media, people just want to look better. They want to look glowy, they want to look healthy, but they just don't want to change, structural changes.
It's such a lovely shift, I think, to see. What difference do you see that it makes on the inside for people, not just externally when you're doing these treatments? Do you see a difference in their mental health?
Definitely improve. I mean, we've seen clients and patients who've come in who've been not confident with their weight, for example, and they've gone through a journey of weight loss. say over 6 months, with the help of, for example, with any kind of injectables or diet or exercise, and all of a sudden they start seeing some skin laxity in their arms, in their neck, in the face. And like what you were saying, like sometimes they're working in sort of banks, competing with younger colleagues and things like that, and they're under pressure. So they want to look better, but they just don't know where to start, and sometimes surgery is not for them. So that's when we come in and we sort of help and guide them in that, and just sort of the non-surgical way of improving the skin and improving their confidence.
Where do you start? I'm sure you don't jump straight into injectables. What's the starting point for most of these people?
For me, I mean, I am full on menopausal now. So, and believe it or not, I don't have a lot of treatments done because I'm too busy, or always, sort of making time for myself is a nightmare. But in terms of starting a journey, so we do a nice thorough consultation. We go through what the goals are and managing their expectations. I'm sure that's what the key thing, well, any aesthetic doctor would say, managing the client's expectations. Look, you're not going to turn the clock back 30 years, but we can improve it and make it, make you feel better. So by, doing a series of treatment plans and, sort of being realistic, it's going to take time and effort, and you're going to need to do your homework at home with your skincare and your diet and your exercise and your supplement. It's not going to just happen overnight.
You mentioned consultation there. That must be a really important part of the process, especially when we're seeing so much information online of everything we should all be doing. Is it important to take a personalised approach?
100%, so we've got clients that come in with a ChatGPT formula of what they've been advised. They put in their own picture in the ChatGPT and they say, how can I make it better? So they come in knowing exactly what they want. And it's almost as if they're trying to catch you out, saying whether you're going to say all the things that they've been told. So doing a proper skin analysis and having a proper skin sort of with a device, we've got like a 3D imaging. It measures your redness, your pores, your pigmentation. So you can actually see where the damage is done and where we can help. And sometimes it might not be what's concerning the client, but we can always say, actually, it's not just fixing the line, you've got to fix from within. And once you address, the redness, then that helps with the pigmentation. So doing a thorough consultation is a key.
And the skin age, that thing tells your skin age. That's
quite scary. It's quite scary, that 3D imaging. I don't know if anyone's had one.
Tells your skin age. You mentioned from within, and I think that's a really important part. It's not just what our skin looks like on the outside, but how it makes us feel. What does skin health look like to you, and how do you encourage people on that journey? What are you using? What treatments or tips and tricks?
So the skin journey, it starts from day one. So if you're going to commit to having some treatments done, I always say start off with your homework. You've got to do skincare at home. So like as a dentist, I'm a retired dentist now, but I always used to say, like, it's like going to the dentist, and have a hygiene clean, but not brushing your teeth at night time. So it's just not going to work. So if you're going to have aesthetic treatments, you're going to have lasers, polynucleotides, exosomes, all these fancy treatments, but you're not going to use the proper medical skincare products that's been prescribed for you. And then you're going to start dipping in and out using what you've seen on TikTok, on Instagram, or your friend has said. It's just not going to work. Stick to the plan, and then we can always, chop and change it for you. So that's why I think it's really important the skincare comes into it, and as a journey as a whole.
Can we discuss a few of those treatments, because we're hearing these words fly around a lot?
I know.
Polynucleotides, all of the other words for that. What are polynucleotides to begin with?
So they're the DNA fragment. They are basically what you've seen online is salmon DNA or trout DNA. So depending on which brand you're going to use, I think it's about 3 or 4, more and more coming onto the market. Now the Korean market is really overtaken. So you've got Redurin, which is from polynucleotide from South Korea. It's like hit the market big time. Patients are aware of it. Before they didn't know what it was. They just thought Kim K has had a salmon sperm facial. I want that. But now they know, and they actually know. So it's an form of injectable. It's a gel that's injected into the skin, onto the eye, underneath the skin, around the eyes or the face or the neck or the hands. And it hydrates. It stimulates collagen production. It's a really good sort of starting point if you want to start preventing the aging process. It's not a quick fix. So it's how do I say it? You need to use it with other things to get the result that you want.
You mentioned it stimulating collagen. Does that mean we're entering this idea of regeneration that we're speaking about, where we're
100% regeneration, aesthetic medicine, aesthetic regenerative medicine is the key now. And sort of as you age, every year is 1% collagen less. You hit pre-menopause, 45, downhill. You hit my age, it's way downhill. So it's like a... But what I'm trying to say is you need to start, I think prevention is better than cure. So if you start early with your decent skincare, SPF, you don't need to, go mad and buy lots of different things. Just keep it very simple. And having little treatments every 6 months just to sort of boost that collagen production in your skin, it really does help. So you don't come in your late 40s with sun-damaged skin, redness, fine lines and wrinkles, and then you're going to start having lots of different treatments to address that.
You mentioned in the hands. I've heard it in the knees as well.
Oh yeah, the knees, underarms, everywhere.
Yeah. Apparently you can tell your real age by your hands and your neck. That's what I was always told.
Yes, it does.
We take so much care of the skin on our face. You mentioned lasers as well. We're hearing more and more about lasers, especially when it comes to summer and potentially avoiding them. What role do lasers play in your clinic, and do you think they can support?
So we have a variety of lasers. We've got neogen plasma, which is plasma technology. That's like sort of been around for a while. Lasers are great if you prepare the skin beforehand. So if you are, for example, you come in for a consultation and we say you're going to need CO2 laser. You go and Google it and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to put my head in a furnace and blow it up. I want to make sure, So it's not just about that, it's in the right hands anyway. So what I'm trying to say is, CO2 laser, neogen plasma, you've got, RF microneedling, such as Morpheus 8, and all these other new modalities that are coming in. There's a new one at the moment that we're hoping to bring called the ZERF, which is, monopolar RF for skin tightening. Another Korean one. I know. It's constantly evolving. And there is a lot of these machineries, what patients are scared of is the downtime. They don't want to have lots of downtimes. They want to make sure they'll be ready to go back to work after 3-4 days. There's a lot of hand holding. So that's where preparation comes in. So doing your homework, doing your skincare beforehand, and having some injectables such as polynucleotides, amino acids and peptides, it kind of marinates that skin ready for your lasers. And that's when you get really good outcomes.
Preparation is key, actually.
It's for everything.
Like you say. What's your thoughts on doing things like lasers in summer? Because is it right to do them in winter instead of when the sun's out?
Yeah, I have to say, definitely. I think my colleagues will agree. Laser season kind of stops around about April, May time. It's like chemical pills. We don't really... But it just depends on the patient. I'd say if you are going to commit to having laser treatment, you cannot go on a sun holiday 2 weeks later with your children, So you've got to be mindful of that because the skin is more sensitive, so you're going to pick up pigmentation. But there are lasers such as Aerolase and Clear and Brilliant. These lasers are gentle. So they are, you can still do it for skin rejuvenation, but not full on resurfacing. I know I'm throwing all these technical words out, but so for example, CO2 laser is more for resurfacing on neogen plasma, but sort of something like Clear and Brilliant is a really gentle laser that helps with fine lines, wrinkles, and it's safe throughout the year, so it's not scary.
And are they suitable for people that are showing skin health concerns such as rosacea or pigmentation?
100%, yeah. Aerolase has got it's got 45 indications, and one of them is redness and acne-prone skin, for example. All these things. So it just calms the skin down, and then it's ready for your next treatment. So if you wanted to, for example, have something like Sculptra later on, it's really good idea to have some laser treatments done first. In combination with sort of polynucleotides or sort of exosomes or microneedling or Jalipro, which is an amino acid. And then you can have your CO2 laser later on in the year where you've got time to hibernate.
What's Sculptra? You slid that in there. What's Sculptra?
Oh, I love Sculptra. Yeah, Sculptra is polyallactic acid. So it's been around for about 30 years. They used to actually use it in NHS on sort of HIV patients when they used to lose a lot of weight, and they used to inject them in to put the sort of structures. But now the prevalence of HIV has gone down. But it's made a massive comeback to the market. Again, with the GLP-1 drugs, which is Mounjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic. So people are losing a lot of weight, losing a lot of volume from the face. And Sculptra, what it's doing is not changing the shape of your face. It actually stimulates collagen type 1 production. So it stimulates that, and it helps the skin have that glowy look without looking any different. I love Sculptra. I teach Sculptra. I can talk about it all day long. I love it.
And can we discuss microneedling as well? Because we're hearing a lot more about this on home devices and all these microneedling things we can do from home, which is super helpful if we can't get into a clinic. But are there any precautions that you should take when having this treatment?
Absolutely. I mean, microneedling is a really unsung hero of aesthetics. I think it's fantastic for skin rejuvenation, but it's done in the right hands. So you've got to be very cautious if you're going to do it at home, because there are different depths, and it can cause scarring, you can cause pigmentation, and you can basically, cause a scar and burn yourself, so if you don't know how you're using it. So using a micro roller and things like that, if it's a very, I'm all for rejuvenation and keeping it at home and cheap, doing it, but you've just got to be cautious. Some things, just go to the professional, and, other things, using home masks and things like that, do it at home anytime.
What's your thoughts on LED masks?
I'm not a fan.
Ooh.
Yeah,
well.
I'm not a fan. I think it's a gimmick. In my personal opinion, we have LED, but we've got the professional one, which is the Dermalux, which is great for calming the skin down after sort of lasers, or if they're having sort of microneedling and things like that, and you just got inflammation and you want it. But I'm not sure these little masks that you can buy online, unless you're consistent with it. So you have to be doing it every single day to see a difference, to see if you can bring it down. But I've yet to see, my personal opinion, I'm not a big fan.
Consistency is key. Yeah. We can have the LED mask and do our tongue twisters, so we'll just be perfect by the end of it.
Just keep wearing it every single night, like an alien.
That'd be very frightening for someone
and can we go back to skincare and what we can do from home? Because you mentioned SPF. I'd love to touch on the importance of that when it comes to preserving our skin health and therefore probably feeling more confident on the outside.
Absolutely. I mean, SPF is a key. I mean, gone the days of looking like Shane Warne. I don't know if I can throw that name out. You sort of like white SPF, and people are scared of, I don't want to look like ashy white. There are so many different types that can blend lovely into your skin, and they are so affordable now. So SPF is the key, and reapplying it every 4 hours if you're out in the sun is a must. So just putting it on first thing in the morning and going to work, and then that's you done, that's your homework. Or is it enough in your BB cream? No, it's not enough. So the key with SPF, I think sun does more damage to your skin than smoking. So it's the number one product that you should invest in yourself. And, they range from La Roche-Posay, which is really affordable, supermarket brand, to, your fancy stuff like that you can buy from clinics or from online, for La Prairie, every brand has got their own SPF. So I think it's one thing everybody should invest on. So, and knowing when to use it. So you apply it, the last thing on your face, and you can buy these sprays, you can reapply throughout the day. And reapplying, I mean, we've got a dermatologist that works with us, and she says you've got to reapply it every 2 to 4 hours for it to be effective.
Wow.
There you go.
And I was told it's like 2 fingers length or something like crazy, where I just do a little...
Oh, you just put a little blob on. I mean, I have on holiday, I have a spray on my bag, and, every time I reach for a drink or my cocktail, a little spray. Yeah, so it's a must. I mean, the tan will last a week, but the damage will last for years. So you've got to think of it like that. So SPF is a key.
Are there any other products? I know that we're talking about taking a personalised approach and it's different for everybody, but is there any other products with skincare that you recommend or that you're excited about at the moment?
At the moment, I think the peptides are making a really good entry. They've been around for a while. We use the Elastin range. They've got lots of different peptides. I think they're really good. stimulating collagen, not at deeper level as something like Sculptra or polynucleotides or Jalipro, but again, on the surface, I think it really helps, especially like some areas like delicate skin around the eyes is really, really good. So look out for products with little peptides in it. I think they're fantastic. And again, it's such an affordable range. You know, you don't have to spend, as a product within everybody's budget. That was a tongue twister.
And just a note, when we say peptides, we're talking about things written products, not these things that we're buying online.
No, we're not injecting peptides. Just something on the building blocks of collagen, basically, peptides.
There's a lot of talk about peptides. I don't want that to go on YouTube and like flagged. And Maryam, finally, just one or two things that you recommend everyone does when they walk out of here today to prepare their skin to feel more confident.
I think we touched on the SPF thing. I think everybody go home, get rid of your old SPFs and just buy a new one. Okay, so if it's been open for more than 3-4 months, get rid and start again. And the SPF in your BB cream, your foundation is just not enough, okay? Unless you're like, you know, my 15-year-old who's got flawless skin and she just fake tan to make, you know, but it's just not enough. Gone the days of baking ourselves in the sun. In my 20s, that's all I did. You know, I'm Iranian. I still wanted to have darker skin, so I was like spraying with my carrot oil. But yeah, just sun protection, I think, is really, really important. And decent hydration, you know, sort of don't neglect the skin around the eyes. It's really important. And it's always... that's one of the number one concerns I hear people come in, you know, so they concentrate on, say, for example, the forehead and then the crow's feet. So invest in a really decent eye cream. I think it's worth it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maryam. That was fascinating.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Charlie, going a little bit deeper. I'm really excited to pick your brains because your practice spans so many different areas and it can be truly transformative. Could you start by explaining the people that turn up to your practice and what they're seeking to feel more limitless?
Okay, because I do so many different things, I'm trying to think how I can answer that because I have clients on a one-to-one basis, but I also teach and group sessions, so it's always very, very different. I guess I don't guide them to be thinking about being limitless as such, because I think a lot of the limits that are out there have been outsourced to someone else or something else. So I think it's more for what I do for my clients is to empower them to get to know who they are on a deeper level.
And how do you do that? What are the techniques that you use? Because you do almost do everything. Yeah. You do sound healing, you do Reiki. Could you just speak us through a few of the things that you do?
I do a lot of mind therapy things like spiritual hypnotherapy, theta healing as well. So it's not just, you know, what's a really nice combination to everything, and that's why it kind of all merges together, is the sound is very much on the physical, and then the mind therapy work is obviously the emotional, mental processing, the spiritual processing of the body. And the way I kind of get people to go there is we get to the non-physical through the physical. So, I mean, I could do something with everyone right now already, if you want to. If everyone wants to, you don't have to. But if you would like to, just close your eyes where you are. You don't have to move. It's just a close of the eyes if you want. I love everyone's adjusting their posture. Actually, I feel like I need to do that too. We've learned already, right? So close your eyes, take a nice deep belly breath in. And as you exhale, just relax as much as you can. And just already be aware of the seat that you're sitting on right now. Nothing else, no one else around you matters. The noises, the lights, the feeling of the temperature of the air, nothing else. And just imagine, like a feather, you enter into the top of your head. And this feather, if you've ever seen a feather float in the middle of space, just floats really nice and lightly and gently into the body. And where does this feather pause for you? Somewhere in the body. Anywhere in the body. I'm not going to guide you to where that is because only you will know the answer to that. And then when you're ready, come back. Take a deep breath in again if you want and come back. Where did everyone feel roughly? Shout it out. Where did you guys go?
My heart.
Heart? Yeah. Anywhere else? Anyone else?
Mine stopped on my forehead.
Your forehead? Anything else? Anyone in the audience? You weren't feeling it? Heart? Yeah. Anyone else? Head. Thank you. Wow. Ears. Wow. Awesome. Really specific. I love that. So then I will ask everybody then, wherever that feather landed, what's going on for you in the ears? What's going on for you in the heart? What's going on for you in the head? How long's it been there? It's much more of like a lifestyle question, like what was happening around the time that you noticed that those things were happening for you. And it's not a coincidence that we stop in those places of our body, because there's something happening that's been manifested in the physical sense that is actually more linked to the emotional, mental, spiritual bodies. And that's the work that I do. We get to the non-physical through the physical, and my gosh, do we go some really cool places. It's really cool.
That was really fascinating. I've never done that before. I think just taking the time to pause and really reflect.
Super simple, super simple. I do that quite often. That's kind of essentially a body scan, but you do it for yourself. And especially if you're ever feeling moments of anxiety or stress or worry, and, you know, you can feel your heart palpitation kind of increases. You start sweating and, you know, swallowing more. I've been doing a little bit about that before I started on here. But you find your ways. And like for me, I take these really big, deep belly breaths and just connect into calming down that part of me that feels overwhelmed or anything like that. So it's just a nice reminder. And I think the more that we can get to know ourselves and all of our layers, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, the better we know ourselves, we will realise there are no limits.
Wow, that was like a mic drop moment, just to close it there. You spoke about hypnotherapy. How do you use that in your practice, and what does that look like for patients?
It's again, it's hard to answer because everyone's so different, and I'm very much a person to person. It's not one size fits all. So the reason I specifically said spiritual hypnotherapy is because I don't practice clinical hypnotherapy. Clinical hypnotherapy is very direct, so they will guide you to places. I can do that, but I very much more believe in empowerment of someone's healing journey. So through the client consultation, actually, a lot of healing work and things can come to the surface. So that's healing in itself, just the consultation and the chat. But then with the hypnosis, with the spiritual hypnotherapy, I'm kind of being guided by them. And because I know the techniques of how to use with the hypnosis and the theta healing, it's same but different, that I can guide them based on what they're giving me. So, and then it's empowering them to, in that moment in time, on that timeline, in that time, in that space, with this person, that person, you know, wherever they need to go is a place that they need to go to for that moment. And that's what I like. That I find that much more empowering. I feel like I get much better results from a more indirect approach rather than a very direct clinical approach. That's just me and the way I work, because I've also been in healing sessions and hypnosis sessions before where people are really being direct with me, and it doesn't feel empowering. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. You don't feel like it's your journey, you feel like it's theirs. So the more I can make it theirs, that's where the true healing happens. And that's what's really important to me. I want people to leave a different person to the person they walked in as. But I can't do the healing work for them either. So that's also why the empowerment piece is so important for me.
I haven't prepped you for this one, so it might be a little bit out there. What does spirituality mean to you? It's a word that we hear so much about, but then it means something so different to everybody. But it can also feel quite scary sometimes to feel like we have to say we're spiritual or we're not. So what does spirituality mean?
Because every religion has spirituality in their religious practice. I live in a Muslim country. I don't live in the UK. I've also go to Nepal every year, which is a very Buddhist practice there. I obviously grew up, I was actually christened, but I never went to church, and I actually used to be the kid at the back of the church kicking the prayer cushions like, are we done yet, you know? So I don't follow any spiritual or religious movements at all. I believe that we are all spiritual. I think that is just a sense because we all have a purpose, and that is really connected to the spiritual body, and we all can feel a connection to a higher power when people are saying the universe, you know, I think it's trying to tell me to do this or whatever, whether you believe in God or not. Everyone's got their own kind of God or higher power to an extent, you know, and I think it's person to person again. But I think it's more, I would ask everybody, what does spirituality mean to them? Because it's not about me, because it's not one size fits all. It's everybody has their belief, and that's what we really need to work to and respect.
Very beautifully said. Can we speak a bit more about the sound healing that you do? Because sound healing has become increasingly popular. How do you use that as a tool to help your clients?
Exactly what I just said. So that's the very physical kind of element of my practice, is the physical side of things. And it's a really nice way to help people connect to their bodies. And the mind-body connection is huge in everything that I do, with the hypnosis, with the body work, yoga. I teach yoga as well. So it's everything. And for people who, so right now my voice is a sound, whether you like it or not. I'm sorry if you don't, I can't change it.
You have a really soothing voice.
You know what I mean? So, and that is the very first sound that my clients will hear, is a guided meditation. So the way that I'm using my voice, the pauses, the kind of emphasis on different words and everything, I very much relate to that, because that's how I'm guiding people into, when I'm saying go deeper now, it's an elongated, and my voice tries to go deeper. So, there's so much, it's a really nice kind of entry point, and for people to connect to why they might feel a bit stressed or everything. And it never used to be like that. I think I'm responsible for a lot of the sound healers in the UK, because I've been teaching it for about 10 years. So not sorry. But I remember when I first started teaching in the UK, people thought just by the word meditation, because I call my sound healing group sessions sound healing meditations, that they think that you're going to turn them into hippie if they come to your class, and there was this really taboo kind of feeling, like no one understood anything, no one understood the energy centers and didn't know what it was. And I used to have to explain that every single session. And now it's so cool, because there's so much more access, more understanding, more education around it, that is helping more and more people. And to the point where I've even heard, which is very cool, GPs are starting to recommend meditation and sound healing and yoga and everything, which is so exciting. When it comes to industry stuff as well, there's obviously a big element to that as well. I've got this thing in the wellness industry, are you actually truly getting well? Because a lot of it is, we've got a whole routine that will feel like a week that you're supposed to do in one day, and it's actually, we put ourselves under so much pressure to do that we actually feel like we're failing and not getting well, and that's just reversing the whole point of it. So yeah, I could talk about this all day, and I've completely gone off piece there, so sorry.
Sorry. What instruments do you use? That's what I was going to ask. Do you use like crystal bowls?
So yeah, a bit of everything. I call it my orchestra. A bit of anything and everything. I've got kind of most things, but my practice originates from Nepal. So that's why I go every year. I visit every year, connect back to the practice, my teacher. I've got a supply there as well. I've become a part of their family, which is really nice. I speak very limited Nepali. It's just enough to say hello, which is really nice. And yeah, it's just a lovely, lovely thing to be able to do and connect back to me, my practice, for not just me, but for my students and for everybody that I'm working with. I think that's so important, because there's a lineage that I have with Nepal, as well as my family. My mum and my grandmother are very much a reason why I'm here as well. So yeah.
So beautiful. And can we speak a little bit about energy healing? Again, something that we're hearing more and more about. How do you incorporate that into your practice, and how do you see that influencing the people that you're working with?
I think most healing modalities that are out there now are energy healing modalities. Like the buzz word, or what's the buzzword practice, or whatever you want to call it, is somatics. And so the word somatics comes from the Greek word soma, which has been around for tens of thousands of years. So it's not a new thing, but it's basically about the mind-body connection. So anything that you can do, it's a mind-body connection, is a somatic practice. And that is essentially energy medicine and energy healing. So, even just you humming and singing to yourself, all these kind of like exercises of the speech and yeah, exactly. It's using your voice can be something that's very calming and for yourself as well. So, and just being mindful about, I think, the people you're surrounding yourself with, what you're consuming through all of your senses, through the people, through your ears, through your nose, your taste, everything that you're ingesting, listening to, especially because there's a drone of the news. It's not very nice. But yeah, there's lots of things. But yeah, I think everything really is an energetic practice, whether it's movement based or sitting still in meditation. I think it's an energy practice all the way. There are ways that you can feel energy. Everyone's feeling energy all the time, whether we realize it or not. We go into a restaurant, or even everyone coming in here today would have been like, oh, I feel like going and sitting over there. That feels really good to me. You know, that's reading energy. Everyone's reading energy all the time, which is really cool.
We're hearing more of things like self-Reiki. Is this something that you believe that we can do those kind of practices on ourselves, and what does that look like?
100%. And it's not just Reiki, it's more just the connection to yourself, that if you want to, I call it channeling, so we channel the energy through, and that's basically through a connection to a higher power. So if you do believe in a higher power, God, the divine, ascended masters, whatever you want to call it, your guides, anything like that, the universe, you know, you can connect to an energy source which brings in energy for yourself, and then, like, everyone's just done it for yourself now by just that little feather. You've brought that energy in. That's your awareness.
And if there's one thing, if not the feather trick that we're all going to be doing every day, what would you recommend that people take away from here to help connect with themselves and their intuition?
I think becoming aware of how you may be outsourcing yourself to someone else or something else. And whilst I think there's a lot of good education we can gain from devices like Whoops or Rings, don't hate me, don't come at me, please. I also think that we become a little bit too reliant on that, and we start to learn about ourselves through outsourcing it to something else. But also other people, we can really outsource who we are to other people. And I think if we can become aware of how we are doing that, when we bring our awareness back to ourselves, our alignment on our path and what we're doing will only become stronger.
Is there something that we can do every morning, or is there a time of day that you recommend connecting with yourselves? Because is there one that might be better?
No right time of day for anything. Like, if you ever feel, I think it's more like if you're ever in a situation that you're not enjoying the people that you're around, or you're a bit nervous about something or worried about something, I think that's more the times to be aware of how you're feeling. I think it's more, that's the connection. And, you know, something, I was bullied at school quite badly, and my mum taught me from a very young age just to cover yourself in a big ball of white light like it's a shield, you know, and you're kind of protecting yourself. It was something that I've always ever done, and if I'm ever getting on a plane, I cover myself in white light. I do it everywhere I go, you know. So yeah, it's just any time. There's no right or wrong, and that's something that kind of bugs me about social media with the kind of education on spirituality, is everyone's so opinionated about it, but they really overcomplicated at the same time, and it really doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be super simple, and what works for you won't work for someone else, and that's really cool. Like, do what works for you, and just disregard the rest. Like, take what's good for you, and that's the main thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlie. That was really beautiful. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our conversation. And what I found really fascinating is you've all said similar things, but in so many different contexts. It's really connecting with yourselves and taking this personalised approach to working out what is right for each of us when it comes to improving our confidence. We do have some time for questions and answers. Did anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so it's most prompted by what Alice spoke about, but I definitely would be interested in hearing from anyone on this. But you spoke about kind of posture and intonation and pauses, and I'm wondering how that affects basically, thank you, yeah. How those things come across in clients maybe, or what you observe and how they practice your advice in terms of, one, gender, and two, culture. Because I'm thinking, for instance, in your examples, Alice, if you're speaking in a male-dominated industry versus female-dominated, or if you're a speaker who speaks in Japan versus the UK, what constitutes an awkward silence may differ. And so what have you observed, and how do you advise people? What do you mean?
Thank you for your question. What an interesting question. Just to check that I fully understood what you're asking. Are you asking me what I've observed in clients in terms of difference, in terms of gender, and also maybe culture as well? Yeah. So I wish I could remember the name of this incredible poem that's online by a woman. And it's about how upspeak and saying like are feminine qualities, and how the criticism of that is actually a criticism of women. And it's fascinating to me because we think of authority as not using upspeak, not making things into questions, and not saying like, this is like really important and this is like really fascinating, which are associated with femininity. And similarly, certain gestures are associated with femininity. So for example, this, it might be perceived as camp to do certain gestures and might use my hands like this. And so it's a really complicated topic, but if you are in a room where you need to have credibility and authority, I would say it's useful to have the tools to understand what those are so that you can use them to hold the space. And if that is a very male-dominated environment for women, for example, finance, where I work quite often, I work with some incredible women there who are seeking to become, get promotions and move up in their careers, and they need to be able to hold that space. Then I see this as a tool to have, to understand that if you end your thought with a full stop, it means you are certain. It means that it's not a question. And so something I've observed is that yes, women do inhabit more uncertainty. We could talk probably for hours about why that is, and we probably shouldn't get into that discussion right now. And yes, men sometimes come to me because they're perceived as aggressive. They're too direct, perhaps, or not aggressive enough. So yeah, there's a lot of things to do with gender. In terms of culture, I work internationally a lot, and I absolutely love working with people from different countries because there are lots of cultural differences. But in the voice, what's fascinating to me is the same things are true, right? Because I had a client who I asked her to deliver something in Mandarin just to see if she changed, whether the English aspect was making things different. But the same qualities were necessary as she spoke Mandarin. So what I mean by that is she needed to have emphasis in Mandarin. She needed to have pauses. So the same thing is internationally true. Some certain things work in every language. Because if you have tension in your body and you're all stressed, right? In any culture, in any language, you're read as you're nervous, you're kind of tense, or you're stressed. So there are some things that translate internationally, some things that are gender-based. And I think it's important when it comes to gender to say, look, gender-based things like maybe using a camp gesture or saying like or saying question marks is not wrong. And it's perfectly good to use that in many different environments. But if you want to occupy certain spaces in a certain way, then having the tool to do that can be very, very helpful. Does that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, it's helpful.
Thank you.
Can I ask something? What do you do?
I'm a strategy consultant.
And do you have to go internationally, travel and do all the
Not really, public- but my mum's from Singapore originally, so I'm used to cross boundaries, I guess, like different culture. Then I guess you could say code switching because of the culture, and I've been, I think, accused of certain behaviours that are not well received in this country. I think sometimes. I used to be a scientist, so I used to be in a male-dominated environment as well. So I'm always looking out how to adapt appropriately without compromising myself too much, I guess.
Very interesting.
Thank you. Were there any more questions? Yeah, I'm just here.
Thank you. Sometimes when I'm speaking, this is for Alice. Sometimes when I'm speaking and I'm nervous, I find that I start to shake, and I realize that also a lot of people experience the same thing.
Yeah.
What can I do to stop that? Because I'll be going fine and then my face starts shaking or my hands start shaking, and I'm like, I can't control that.
Yeah.
And my second question is, sometimes when I'm speaking, my accent starts to change. Sometimes I sound American, sometimes I sound Australian or Caribbean because I've moved around a lot in different countries I've lived. How can I sound British but pretending? So like don't sound British. It's just like an amalgamation, and everyone's like, I can't pinpoint where you're from or like the different accent changes.
Thank you for your question. Yes, so the shaking is one of many symptoms that probably arise as a result of a big adrenaline rush, right? So your fight and flight kicking in, and that might be you have like dry mouth, you're shaking, I get a rash, I might have it slightly now. What other things might you get? Sweating, all kinds of things that might occur as a result of that sort of response happening in your body. Your body knows something's happening, you're in a situation, so it's responding, ready to run or fight or do the things. And so first of all, I'd say it's normal. which I know is annoying because you're like, well, I don't want it there. But I would argue that fighting the symptom makes it worse, because it's almost like, if you imagine there's a primeval part of you that's like, we're in a really dangerous situation. I'm going to flood your body with adrenaline. We're going to get ready to run, and we're going to start to shake, and we're going to be ready, okay? And then you're like, no, don't shake. You cannot shake. You must not shake. And then the thing is like, wow, that's making me shake more. So if you imagine that's kind of the inner conversation of the primeval part of you, then almost what we can foster and develop over time is a stronger inner voice that is able to speak calmly to that. So it would be saying, I can see you're shaking. That's okay. And as I've said, I have struggled with nerves, especially when I was an opera singer, so badly. So I do understand. I know how hard it is. But what I've experienced with symptoms is they come, right? They hit, they flood you, and then you're experiencing them. But they don't actually last all that long if you allow them. So it's partially a process of allowing. It's like, the symptoms are here. Okay. What was I speaking about? You know, refocus on your message. There are other grounding practices you can do. For example, just press your feet into the ground and notice the sensation, because a lot of it is about switching focus. Where is your attention? Is your attention on the shaking? Is it like, oh my God, I'm shaking. Everyone can see I'm shaking. The shaking's getting worse. Oh no, it's worse. Or is it, I can feel my feet. Here I am. You know, so does that help you at all? It's a bigger process in the longer term to help deal with these performance anxiety related things. But first of all, I think you're not alone. Almost every person experiences some symptoms from the list I described at the beginning. So first of all, it's normal. And then the process of allowing and fostering a strong, comforting inner voice that can calm down that primeval part of you can be very powerful. Regarding the second question, I work with people on English pronunciation all the time, and it's a complicated topic because for me, accents are beautiful and special, and they make you unique, especially if you have different heritage or you have different languages. To me, that's incredibly impressive and wonderful. And so I would say, again, switch your focus onto the message. If you have different accents in that moment, that's okay to me. Is it okay to you?
I think so, but not when I'm like switching languages and then they were Spanish and they're like, what is she talking about?
So you're switching languages as well as accents?
Sometimes switching languages.
That's incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm
I think
jealous.
I think that's wonderful, and it's just a testament to what an amazing woman you are, clearly. So I think enjoy it, you know, and just show off your much knowledge, but celebrate it. The focus needs to be on the message always. What are you trying to say, rather than allowing your focus to kind of slip into, oh no, my accents are going crazy, I'm doing all this weird stuff. Again, it's a choice of where is your attention. Does that help you at all? Thank you. Yeah, I love it. Can't see you shake it. And by the way, I was a bit worried today, thinking, well, if I was nervous, would this mic shake? You know?
The shaking never stops. I shake every single time I present. Every time.
And that's the thing. Someone like Victoria, who you can see is so brilliant at what she does, and it's so nice to know that, you know, even the most confident-seeming performers have little moments of like shaking, and it's okay for it to be there, right? It's fine. Is it?
Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah, it'll go. But
It goes. It passes through your body if you just allow it to be there. If you resist it, that's when it multiplies.
Can I add a little bit to your first part of your question? In hypnosis, there's a law called, the mind's very suggestible when it's in a kind of a trance-like state. And there's a law of suggestibility called the law of delayed action. So if, like in a session, in a hypnosis session, it would be something, I get a lot of people that want to desensitize the fear of public speaking. It would be obviously tracking back to, has anything ever happened to you growing up as a child, and trying to understand. And most of the time we're told when we're growing up, children should be seen and not heard. And that can be something that is a belief that's been embedded in your subconscious mind. And that's why those things happen. And through the law of delayed action, we work on it in the hypnosis session to desensitize that. And then you will only know the effects of it. It's a delayed action. So you'll only know the effects of it once you then presented with doing a public speaking event or something. So there can be obviously lots of really cool tools, like Alice said, about in the moment and just before you're going in. I think that's very valid. I do those things now myself. But also, if you really want to work on it on a much deeper level into the subconscious mind, that can be another option too.
Yeah, thank you for that. I realize it is probably deep rooted then. Might do some journaling today.
And also, yeah, definitely, journaling's a great way to do it. But also, culturally, you might also have something, there's a belief there that you would have grown up with from the different cultures as well. And, you know, I don't know your history, but, you know, that could also be something to explore too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We've got time for one more question if there is one. Our speakers will be here for a short while, I think, if you wanted to try and grab them. I saw a hand
Mike
go.
Man? Is his name Mike?
Chris.
I have another question for Alice as well.
All the questions for Alice.
So at work, I'm a team of one at the moment.
Okay.
And I have to explain a lot of uncomplicated concepts and theories sometimes. And I struggle to sometimes get that across in a way that makes sense to other people. So I don't know if you have any tips or tricks of like how to break that down and make it easier for people to understand.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's a common issue that people come to me with. So I would say, first of all, try and record yourself explaining it as though to a very intelligent 12-year-old. How would you explain this difficult concept to a 12-year-old who was smart, but, you know, still a child? And that will help simplify it. And you won't be able to use any jargon. You won't be able to use loads of difficult language. You'll have to make it simple. So that's one process you can do. Another thing that helps complex technical information is essentially storytelling. So give an example. What is it like? Is it like a game of tennis? Is it like something that people know and understand? If you can compare it to something, that can be really, really helpful. Or you can also put it into a story. So for example, have you ever been in a shop and you wanted to just pay for something, but there was a massive queue? This was one that I used with someone from finance who was building a new device where you could pay easily in the shop without having to go to a cashier, basically. And for that, we built a story that was around, like, imagine you're in a big rush. You've got to go to the chemist after this. Your children are crying and you just want to pay, but you look and there's a big queue. And so I'm not sure this is explaining that example very well right now because it's too detailed. But my point is we put it in a story that is relatable to maybe your client or to whoever you're speaking to. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it certainly does. I think I need to improve my kind of examples because I think that's...
Yeah, examples is the key thing. Yeah, so examples I find are some of the most powerful ways to help people understand difficult concepts. So yeah, definitely. My pleasure.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for your really wonderful questions and for your vulnerability. It truly is appreciated. And just a big thank you to all of you for being here. We really appreciate you coming. We host several events here at Soho House, so please do keep your eyes peeled. And finally, just a huge thank you to our Beauty Triangle this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.